50 years. That's the sentence a Lane County judge handed down today in a sex abuse case. Good evening, I'm Brandy Smith.
And I'm Brian Richardson. The case, though, might not be over quite yet. KEZI 9 News reporter Nana Wynn is live in the studio with our top story here at 5. Nana?
Brian and Brandy, supportive friends and family filled the courtroom during today's trial. People on both sides shed tears as the parties worked through the case and sentencing. In less than 2 hours, the presiding judge ruled 50-year-old Russell Crummett would spend the next 50 years in prison.
And Judge Sinache ultimately, I think, reasonably went with the high end of the range given the pervasiveness of Mr. Crummett's conduct.
Conduct that spanned years, most of which happened at these apartments in Eugene. Investigators say Crummett sexually abused at least 6 girls, the youngest just 7 when the abuse began.
They were carrying an enormous amount of guilt and anxiety with them, so some of these children were really reluctant to talk about this from the outset because they had essentially been brainwashed by Mr. Crummett.
Each victim appeared in court as Crummett apologized for what happened.
He is heartbroken. Remorseful doesn't begin to cover it. There are things that happen that you just can't take back or do anything about it, and I think he acknowledged that. While
Crummett's only being held to 12 of more than 40 different charges, the victims and their families are satisfied with the outcome.
Well, after meeting with them, relief would be the best way to describe. I think happiness is probably overstating it because, you know, the other side of this equation is this man's losing his liberty for the rest of his life.
It's a very sad situation for everybody. While there may not be room in many people's hearts for sympathy for Mr. Crummett, it's too bad. It's just too bad.
Now, in a stipulated facts trial, the case moves forward with a guilty verdict on charges agreed upon by both parties. But the defendant hasn't exactly admitted to any guilt and preserves his right to appeal certain issues in the case. Live in the studio, Nana Wynn, KEZI 9 News.